Welcome to a haunted park date for Halloween. Dare you enter the park after dark? What are you afraid of? What am I afraid of? Getting my heart broken? Dying alone? No. Are you afraid of what you'll find in the park? Homeless people, crack addicts, doggers, things that go bump in the night. Oh no, I'm not afraid of them. Well, join us on this journey as we take a Halloween special trip through a very haunted city with David Baldwin. David is a comedy writer, filmmaker, film programmer, and journalist. So do look out for some ghoulish gags. And remember, we recorded this in July, so the whole Halloween thing is very, very tenuous.
David Baldwin clearing his throat there. David, do your vocal exercises again.
Well, this was from Anchorman, so I mean, I already sound, like I've just stolen something. But
well, that's all we're going to do in this podcast.
I think it's something like, "This skeleton had a shampoo in the shower." that's a vocal warm. Why?
It's good.
This skeleton had a shampoo in the shower.
Those are the vocal exercises that you should be doing.
Yes.
Before you record anything.
So where are we, Chris?
Well, David, we find ourselves in the King Kong Park. Welcome to King Kong Park in Birmingham. We are... Well, so why don't you describe what we're looking at?
Would you say park is slightly overselling it?
We can see some plant... Are they called planters? Those like wooden things?
Yeah.
With plants in. There is some astroturf, and right in the middle, we're in an industrial area, Jewellery quarter. Right in the middle is this statue which shows
King Kong, a large gorilla.
That's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.
The curious thing about this park is it is basically a road.
It's a road.
We are by a bus stop. I mean, when I say this, there is a bus stop.
Actually, I hadn't even noticed.
In the park.
I haven't even noticed that there is a bus stop in the park.
Which is quite unique for a park to have a bus stop literally in the middle of a park, and no buses will be coming.
If you want to get the 52, you're going to be waiting here for quite some time.
You will be.
I think about 4 months until the next bus arrives. What have they done with that bus route? Have they diverted it?
They must have. There's been a lot of diversions. Mm-hmm. And so, this road has effectively been turned into an astroturf debacle. And obviously in the
debacle?
background... You're very good. That should be the name of your podcast. Debacle.
When the bad reviews start coming in, I'll change the name.
And in the background you can hear, obviously, the Commonwealth Games going on.
Yes, timely.
On the side of a van to give it some atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. What sport has been?
There's some kind of cross-country swimming, I think.
Cross-country swimming? What,
where
live?
Are they doing that?
Well, I think it's in Sutton Park, that kind of thing, isn't it? Oh. Possibly. Cross-country swimming makes me think that you're not in the water, but you're kind of swimming, but across land.
What, they're sort of floating?
No, you're kind of on land, but you're doing doing like a swimming motion.
Right.
Kind of crawling.
I think you've really misunderstood the concept of cross-country swimming there. But no, I mean, I suspect we've come at the wrong time. It's very early in the morning. Perhaps there'll be a bit more of an atmosphere later on.
Should we come later and hang out with hipsters? I know you're...
I do love a hipster.
Very hip person, aren't you?
Well, you can see they're setting up some hipster beer dispensers.
Yeah. Is there a local Birmingham craft brew now?
Yeah, there'll be something.
Brewery.
So there'll be some Peaky Blinders types turning up later. To cause a bit of bother, I'm sure. But no, I think,
Well, it sounds like they've arrived.
some local characters.
What are they doing with their cars?
I mean, I thought they're basically jump-starting the car. I think they work here.
Is it stolen?
That's a very... I mean, you're making an assumption there. It might be close to the truth, but it's still an assumption.
So the King Kong...
Well, obviously last night, it all ties in what we did last night, didn't it?
Well, let's talk about what we did. Let's walk to the front of him so we can see his face. And
move away from the backside.
We'll move away from whatever crime has been committed. And last night King Kong figured largely, didn't he?
It did. We did a screening of the film King Rocker at the Midlands Arts Centre with Stuart Lee and Michael Cumming, and they came here yesterday, I believe.
Just those two? No one else?
Yeah, and I think they came away similarly underwhelmed. But I mean, the actual statue is great.
Yeah.
I just feel like the park bit is a little bit disappointing.
It's they've definitely got a lot of AstroTurf. There's some real plants, but
there is.
Yeah, it's strange. So for people that don't know, the King Kong statue was installed in 1972 in St Martin's Circus by the Bull Ring by the sculptor Nick Munro, and it sat there for a while. There's some great footage which we should show at Square Eyes of a builder strike. I don't know if you've seen this.
No.
I don't know if they used this in King Rocker. There was a builder strike, and a builder put a ladder up to the top of King Kong and sat on his shoulder during the strike protesting. And there's an episode of ATV Today where the journalist is yelling questions from where we're standing at the bottom at the builder. The builder's explaining why they're on strike. So it had become a local landmark, and then it ended up on this journey around the country.
And this is now the sort of not the original. It's a variation.
It's a copy. I mean, it looks a lot like. I never saw the original. You and I are old, but obviously not that old.
Do you feel like you've been transported back to that time? Do you feel the weight of history on your shoulders right now?
No.
Or is that just me
that's
pushing on you?
Pushing down. That's just life. pushing down on me. It's. I mean, it does have that 70s aesthetic going, which I love.
Have you ever had that where somebody comes up to you and they just come from behind you and just grab you by the shoulders like that? It's really weird.
Does that happen to you a lot? I bet you do it. Do you do it to people?
A couple of times it's happened to me and I don't like it. I feel like they're invading my personal space.
It felt quite nice. David was just massaging my shoulders. It felt quite nice.
Yeah, not when you're not expecting it. I think that's the key. I mean, I've been sat down and someone's just come behind and sort of massaged.
Really? Is that a thing?
A couple of people have done that and I'm not keen on it.
I think I'm quite a touchy person. I didn't like in COVID. I think it's quite nice to do a little hug maybe, and that's the first time doing a podcast has been a touching.
Really,
it's quite nice. Quite enjoyable.
Yeah. I'm very
massage.
anti-touching in many ways.
Right.
So for me, it's quite awkward.
Right.
I feel even me doing it is awkward.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just human.
It is human,
which is
why
your wife asks for a cuddle. You're just like, no. Go away, darling.
My wife
no cuddles today.
My wife has similar attitudes toward touching as me, so we stay well away from each other.
Your children will grow up like Prince Charles if you don't cuddle them. It's very like in The Crown. He goes, "Mummy," and he goes for a cuddle, and the Queen just walks past him because there's no cuddling.
Do you feel that The Crown is accurate in its portrayal of the royal family?
Isn't it a documentary?
Not so sure. Sorry, I've got off topic.
Yeah, well, that always happens with us, but I think that's part of the pleasure of it.
Part of the appeal of this podcast.
Right, exactly. But hold on. So you could be sat in Birmingham, someone comes up to you and just starts massaging your.
This is more at work. Someone who's done it to me at work.
What? Not when we work together.
No.
Your proper work.
Yeah,
You've got a proper job now.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I mean, it's not. It's well, it's
What
you know,
do you-
there's an HR department. Put it that way. It's definitely
Right.
proper. It's proper in that sense.
Right. Yeah. We were talking about disciplinary issues last night, which
were.
we're definitely not going to talk about now for legal reasons.
No, absolutely not.
Well, when you said work, I wondered if it was maybe Joe came up to you and Master, do you remember him?
I do remember Joe.
I wonder what's happened to him.
Joe, he was a Birmingham stalwart, wasn't he?
Yeah.
At the Post and Mail building.
We used to work with this guy called Joe. What was his job? I don't remember what his job was.
I've no clue what his job was.
I don't know what his job was. I don't think he knew what his job was. But again, probably shouldn't mention this, but all the free CDs that we got sent, we sold to him, which I don't think is allowed.
Well, I mean,
But
harmless.
Then harmless fun, exactly. We'd sell all these free CDs and DVDs to him, and then he would. I don't know what he'd do with them. I don't know if he'd take them away and flog them.
Definitely flogged them.
Do you think so? He didn't just keep them all.
Nah, he definitely flogged them. I know he probably kept the Motorhead ones, and
Yeah.
so that's.
I need to get him on the podcast. So he had long hair. He looked like he was in, like Sabbath or something.
Yeah, he did. But he had a lovely suit on as well. All the times he had to dress.
A great Brummie accent. I think he was from like Stourbridge or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, we need to find out where he.
Should we move on? My concern is this in the background as well.
Yeah,
We
I
can
don't know
hear
about
it
this.
Should we go that way?
Oh yeah, of course we're going to go that way, aren't we? So I think we've seen a lot of this. We've seen a lot of this park. I like the posters. I think the posters look cool.
I mean, I can see what they're trying to do. I feel like it's been.
Actually, is this Joe over here? This looks like it.
I feel like it's not been a complete success, but I don't want to be the typical Birmingham person who goes, "Oh, what a load of rubbish."
Well, that's what you always read in the Evening Mail, isn't it? Whenever anyone comes up with any idea,
Yes.
the immediate reaction from everyone is, "I don't like it."
This is not what I want.
It's not what I want. It's normally something they're not comfortable with.
Right now, please. It's a bit loud around here, but
We're crossing. What's this road called? Hockley Road or something? St Paul's Road.
possibly
I don't think I've ever done a crossing a road bit.
podcast. Well, that's
we're gonna-
because
we're
the
gonna
others are
walk-
in actual parks, Chris.
Yeah, this is this. Jesus, I've got to run over that. This is. I think this illustrates Birmingham well. There's a lot of roads.
There are, and the park that we've been to is not a park.
It is a road.
Yeah, it's basically a road they've turned into
Exactly.
a strip of AstroTurf.
And we're going to do. Getting to another park involves going on a road, and actually the other park is surrounded by a road on all sides. So
now, of course, this is. I mean, where we're going, we're fairly close to where we used to work.
shall we? Have you still got a key card? Can we get back in?
Well, as the Birmingham Post and Mail building is now just a car park.
It's a car park, of course.
It is, and I've often parked on one of the levels and think, is this where my desk used to be?
Yes. Can you park where we worked?
Probably, yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, like in terms of spatial awareness, like psychogeography, you might get a little. You'd park, you get a little shudder because you'd be like, oh.
I remember
Writing, talking to Simon Pegg about Shaun of the Dead.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did.
We were talking about this yesterday. How come you got to interview Quentin Tarantino,
Yes.
Simon Pegg,
Danny Boyle,
Steve Coogan,
Joan Rivers,
Stuart Lee,
like lots of people.
and I got to interview We Are Scientists. So I don't know how. I'd forgotten just how many actual famous and interesting people you talked to.
Yeah, it's weird in quite a short space of time
Right.
as well.
It was like, David, you interview Quentin Tarantino. Chris, you interview editors.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I quite liked.
Oh,
but
I mean, yeah, they're good.
got a
Don't
quite
do
good
down
first
editors.
album.
We're headed towards a pneumatic drill.
Well, that's perfect. Isn't
Perfect for Birmingham. It's our culture, isn't it?
This is going to take so much time in the edit. Reduce external ambient noise.
What's with shouting?
Oh my gosh, this is actually going to be really, really loud.
Well, let's
isn't it?
move on. You can cut this bit out.
Yeah, exactly. It's so loud.
I think it does give a nice taste of Birmingham, though.
I've got an idea for a podcast. It's called On Site, and it's just a podcast on a building site, talking to different building workers about their jobs, while in the background, incredibly loud, banging, clattering, drills, things being dropped on the floor, shouting.
Absolutely.
On Site, the newest podcast coming to all your podcast providers.
So I don't know quite. We're going vaguely in the right direction.
Yeah.
There's a block hotel. That's new.
Yes. No, it isn't. I think that's been there for a few years. I think I stayed there.
Did you?
I think you've put people there, haven't you?
Have I? No.
Have you not?
No, it's too far out.
Is it?
Aha.
Okay, here we go.
Here we are. We've done it.
St Paul's. Hey, look. Do you fancy? It's the home of boozy bakes, boozy cupcakes.
A boozy cup?
What is a boozy cupcake?
That's a good question.
I've never seen one of those.
I'll steer clear of the booze myself.
Yeah.
So you never know what will happen.
So
here we are, St Paul's.
Here
Not,
we
not
are.
too far.
Here we are in St Paul's.
Really very close to the King Kong statue, actually.
We are, aren't we?
This is an actual park now that we're approaching.
We're going to go to a real park. Last time we were doing a podcast, it was in a kind of similar circumstances because we were supposed to do the King Rocker film in December.
Yes.
And then due to COVID, it didn't happen.
No.
So we just walked along the canal. I think it was a bit colder, wasn't it? But it was quite amusing to walk along the canal and see various ne'er-do-wells.
Ne'er-do-wells and scrawling.
All kinds of like weird stuff.
Would you like a little anecdote about St Paul's?
No.
Okay.
Next thing.
Let's
No,
move on.
of course.
So I had to.
Yeah, talk about St Paul's.
I tried to arrange a screening of The Exorcist in this.
That's actually really, really cool.
In this, is it cathedral? Is it cathedral? Not a cathedral.
Why did they say no to that?
Well, obviously there are many reasons, I'm sure, but they seemed initially open for it. But I had to turn up here and I had to wait for the relevant, the vicar, the relevant religious leader, and he never turned up. So
What?
I don't think they were very keen.
That's actually really bad.
I thought it'd be quite fun in terms of The Exorcist being shown in an actual religious building, but of course they were quite against that.
I think that would be excellent to do that. I love it when they show films on location. I think it's
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
yeah, different location, different feeling.
But perhaps the crucifix masturbation scene would not have gone down well with the congregants.
You can see why there's maybe a small problem.
A slight problem, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would have been great though.
I was naive, but I thought it would have been a good selling point.
What's this over here? Is this the bull that you were telling me about?
This is the mascot.
Perry.
This is Perry the bull.
So, okay, we're looking at a bull who is wearing a sports kit,
Right.
and a medal, and he's got that kind of, it looks like the edge of a football, but it also looks like, when you remember Blockbusters, the kind of way that the Blockbusters board was laid out, and it's multicoloured.
And this is his trail, so there's different Perrys across the city, I believe. We have to find them all.
We should have done the trail, shouldn't we? So if you see...
I'm not doing that trail. I'm definitely not.
Does it go... Hold on,
I've walked
so...
around the city a lot, I don't need to...
Yeah, you've done it enough.
Yeah, just to find some cartoon bulls.
I wonder... Hashtag pose with Perry. Maybe that's the thing, you have to go with him. I do...
Do you like him as a mascot?
I feel like he looks like he's fun. He looks like...
It'd be a good time hanging out with him.
Exactly.
Perry the bull.
If you were going to go...
If he called you up and said,
Yeah, I'd go for...
Chris! That's how he speaks. Do you fancy Coming
Do you
on the
fancy
lash.
a glass of milk?
Where's the milk coming from, Harry?
Oat milk. He's vegan.
Of course.
Glass of oat milk.
But if he asked you out on the lash,
I would definitely go for a coffee with Perry for sure. I think it would be quite fun. He is very brightly coloured.
do you think he'd be a bit much? Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be a bit like, well, let's have a great time.
Yeah,
You'd be like, oh, mate, it's 1 a.m. I'm going home.
I think there could be elements of that, like he's not read the room.
Yeah, a bit too enthusiastic.
Too much.
Yeah, but initially I think it'd be fun.
It'd be one of those people it's quite good to spend an hour with them. And after that, you'd be like, I've exhausted.
I love too much of you.
Yeah.
So we need to move on.
And maybe like with celebrities, it's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah. But no, this is nice. It's a nice day as well. So St Paul's Square.
Very sunny, very warm.
I mean, it's not technically a park, is it?
Is it? Well, I know what you mean. There's trees.
There's trees.
And there's grass. There's graves as well.
Yeah.
Some tropical kind of plants.
And of course, the opening ceremony was yesterday.
Have you watched the opening ceremony yet? I saw a photo of the big bull.
The big bull, yes. Saw that. I heard about a few random things, like a slightly terrifying Shakespeare puppet.
Right.
But all in all, it seems to have been well received, which is good. As opposed to the one they did when they handed it over. And do you remember they did a little dance routine? What
happened in the dance routine?
It was all a bit amateur hour.
Was it?
It was a bit. And there was that was that moment where everyone's like, the typical Rummy response was, oh no, here we go. But actually...
Or as Brummies would say, oh no.
Don't do it, Chris. It's not good.
I think my Brummie's alright. Yeah, borderline.
Borderline. But yes, I feel like it sounds like the opening ceremony was a success, which is good.
Yeah. What's this? There's an exhibition of photos of
so athletes,
sports,
from across the city. So Balsall Heath, Erdington, Rowley Regis, Solihull.
Your old neck of the woods.
Indeed. Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is good. This is more like it.
So this is kind of celebrating sports in the city.
Indeed.
I feel like they have gone kind of all in on the Commonwealth Games. There's lots of exhibitions, lots of signs. If we were still working for Metro, we would have so much content to fill the pages.
Absolutely. You wouldn't be like, desperately scrabbling around for some random event at Highbury Theatre or something.
Sometimes there was a bit of a lack of good cultural things to cover.
Sometimes.
Mostly it was okay, but I feel like they've done a lot for the games.
Someone enjoying themselves.
So it's a guy listening to a radio. What's that song? I guess we have to mask it because we probably have to pay for rights if there's any music. So
I don't think they'll be bothered.
As long as you can't make out what it is.
I mean, you're assuming that this podcast is going to be listened to
anyone.
Get
any listeners? It's not a problem at the moment, so it probably won't be.
Let's talk. How many? How you doing? How many downloads have you had?
There's not enough podcasts, I think, to get numbers yet. So okay. I think you have to do a certain amount.
That's interesting.
It's still all very new to me. Well, as you can hear through the non-professional.
The fact that you don't edit it.
Do you know what? I've actually started doing some editing on Audacity, and as I said to you earlier, it does remind me a little bit of. Being in university and doing student radio, I felt like everyone started doing podcasts recently. If we both did student radio, we could have. We kind of started this years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed student radio. It was really, really fun. Yeah. I remember there was one time, because I did a broadcast journalism degree, I recorded the news and had half an hour to run over to the student radio station to present the show that the news led into, so I literally handed over to myself. So I just went, oh, that's the end of the news, and then I went, well, thanks for that, David. And I mean, if that doesn't sum up student radio, I don't know what does.
I hand over to yourself.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that. But yeah, there was a lot of freedom, and you could play around and stuff. And
Yeah, exactly.
no one was telling you what to do.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed using Cool Edit Pro to make jingles and.
God, we had mini discs and things.
We had mini discs too.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was trying to get hold of an old episode of the student radio comedy show that me and Chris and Steve and Claire, hi guys, used to do. And the
what was the name of the show?
It was called The Future in Mono, which was a song title, I believe. I thought it sounded cool. But yeah, we did. It was basically, we were sort of ripping off the day-to-day, essentially. It was really that.
Yeah.
Which is. Oh, what's. Should we go in this factory? That looks quite fun.
It does look quite fun.
There's like loads of metal things, as you can hear.
Metal things.
And the radio playing. This is the weird thing about Birmingham. You just have a factory in the middle of the city.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot.
Still making kind of
They
metal
are.
stuff next to the railway and next to the park.
And then down here, so we're coming to under a bridge.
Yeah.
And I guess some of these might be, I don't know, these might be workshops, these might be.
Exactly.
Let's have a look.
It's you can hear that spooky feel as we go under the bridge.
It's nice.
I like that. We could do a Radio 4 drama under here, couldn't we?
Good. One time Jarvis Cocker did a show for, I think it was BBC Six, and he interviewed me briefly when I worked at the Electric Cinema.
Jarvis Cocker interviewed you?
No, let's make that clear. I've missold that. The producer interviewed me, and they made it appear as if Jarvis Cocker had interviewed me.
The wonders of broadcasting.
Yeah, and at one point, it was weird because he wanted to be a bit. It was quite an arty show, and so at one point he goes, "David, where are you? David, David!" And he just disappears into the echo, and that's what that reminded me of. Going under there, the sort of echo of.
That was his. That was his show where it was kind of ambient and a bit almost Blue Jam.
Yeah, it was a bit
adjacent. Yeah, that's really cool.
That was random.
What were you talking about on Jarvis's show?
Just the history of the cinema, really, and the old 35mm reels that are down in the basement of the cinema, which I think
the 35mm Instagram reels that the influencers made back in the 60s and 70s.
Of course,
when influencers had to make. If you're listening to this, but you probably won't realise if you're young, but influencers back then. They made their reels on film, and the film cartridges. Then it's very laborious to upload things to Instagram.
Yeah, it was. You had to feed the film into a computer,
into the internet. Yeah, and then it went into the internet, and then it became an Instagram reel back then. So it was more complex to do it back then. But so they're all in the basement.
I think they might have been moved, but a lot of them are all pornos.
Did you watch any of them?
No, I mean some of their titles like Wife Swappers. It's quite interesting. Oh, where are we now?
We're on
back to the main road.
Back to the main road, exactly. We talked about this before, didn't we? When we were walking down the canal, and you were telling me about the porno films and the posters for them.
Yes.
That you. Discovered when you were working at the Electric, because it used to be for a period of its life, Britain's oldest cinema, by the way, in Birmingham. But it used to be a dirty old man's cinema, didn't it?
It did, but then it also showed like kids' films as well, so it was a weird clientele.
Kids' films in the day, and then porno in the.
Sometimes the same, in one screen you'd have. Kids' films
at the same time.
I believe so.
That's really.
Or at least maybe they staggered the times a little.
So it was like. Oh wow, that's very loud.
Let's walk up down here.
Yeah.
We're off the beaten track now.
Have a little stroll through the jewellery quarter.
Past the bins.
It must. There's a lot of bins around. A postbox. Don't see those often. That must have been quite a fun place to work.
Yeah, it was, and it had a good atmosphere, and the people who worked there were really interesting people.
Yeah.
So, but there were other aspects of the job that weren't good.
It's alright, which we won't talk about now. I know exactly what you mean. I liked the secret room where there was like guitars and things.
Yes. Secret room.
Yeah, that was quite.
Sounds a bit sinister. Doesn't it?
It was quite cool.
We're walking past the Birmingham Bouldering Centre. Wow, I didn't even know such a thing existed. This is fantastic.
The city's full of surprises, isn't it?
It is, that's the thing. Oh wow, it is literally a climbing centre.
You can go climbing in like an old warehouse. Yeah. Well, there's another. We've got one podcast spin-off already on site where we do a podcast on a building site.
Don't forget Deparkle.
Deparkle.
I mean, that could be a spin-off.
That could be the bad parts spin-off.
This one.
David's my fan.
Yeah.
And well, the next one would be you need some kind of climbing or cliff pun. What would that be?
Come on, you're under pressure now.
Oh,
You've got to think up a humorous pun.
It's going to take me some time.
Okay, well let it fester.
Exactly. Maybe we can insert that later. But yeah, how about a podcast on a climbing wall where you're just talking to people, you just hear them going. So if we what was? Tell me about a moment in your life that was difficult, or where you learned something. You just hear someone going.
And so I was.
Yeah, there was a time.
Yeah, you're onto something there.
So that's 3 spin-offs. Obviously, the 4th one. Well, I think we're coming up to the canal, aren't we? And when we were on the canal last time, we were talking about my idea of, which I might do, but I don't know if it's probably a bit left field. The Telly Savalas looks at Birmingham.
Yes.
Idea,
which was a bit niche.
Maybe a bit niche. I'm obsessed with the film Telly Savalas Looks at Birmingham. If you've not seen it, you should. And I think we should show it at Mac.
Yeah, maybe. I've heard it's quite expensive to screen these.
Actually, that's true. That's true, because I did talk to Richard Jeffs, who's in charge of that archive, and he quite rightly jealously protects and guards the
crown jewel.
The Harold Bame archive. But he also does great work promoting it. So hi Richard.
I think we have sort of ended up where we did the last.
We have,
where we started the last one.
We have.
Everything is circular, isn't it?
Everything. Well, this is what I was trying to say last night as well.
The screening of King Rocco?
At the screening of King Rocco,
about to start rambling,
launching into a rambling anecdote, which was one of those when you ask for Q&As and people say, well, this is more of a comment than a question.
Yeah, exactly. And Stuart Lee sort of stared you down.
Stuart Lee was staring. He was staring. If you ever tried to unleash an anecdote while Stuart Lee is staring at you,
is it tricky?
No, bless him. I love Stuart. He was
great.
It was great to meet him, and great to talk to him.
But I think he was like, you can stop this anecdote.
I was slightly intimidated when he was just staring at me. I was talking, but the thing that I wanted to say, which I do think has merit, is this idea of like circularity. Well, I mean, we've just kind of gone literally just gone in a circle without thinking about it, and I feel like you get this a lot in life, and you have these like random connections. And I guess the point I wanted to make last night was how with King Rocco, which is about the Nightingales, there's these connections to other musicians, and I had this thought about Lawrence from Felt.
I was not familiar with Lawrence.
Yeah, very big in the 80s. He's another Midlands guy as well. Felt had some quite good songs, and I was actually going to mention that in this rambling point about circularity. And then Stu said that when him and Michael were in the King Kong Park, someone had said to Michael, "Are you Lawrence from Felt?"
Because does Michael look like him?
There's maybe a tiny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe a tiny.
Someone having a bit of fun.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that just goes to prove. I do think you can see a lot of connections
I just see
Something's taken David's eye, and it's the Jam
the
House.
Jam House, now known for being Jules
Holland's
place of
residence.
boogie woogie.
I thought he lived here, didn't he?
So bands coming up include Red Lemons, Civil Wrongs, which I'm not that's okay, and Loose Ends. So an interesting collection, but you know, I've had a few nights there of
Well, look who's at the top
very
there.
entertainment. Who? Where?
Look at the top one.
Trojan Celebration.
No, below that.
Oh, Brum Beatles.
Yes.
The Brum Beatles.
Maybe they do.
Admission free, of course it is.
That's the only one that's free, isn't it? Maybe they do.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
They do sort of brummy takes of Beatles songs. Yeah, I remember going in there. It was always a bit fancy for me.
Yeah, it's a bit fancy for both of us.
I think we were more at home in Snobs, which
were.
was mentioned on the King Kong Park poster.
It was, yes, and the Academy, the
Exactly.
old Academy.
David,
Not
do
this.
a rambling anecdote while I have a drink.
Okay, well, the old Academy, where we once DJ'd, of course. We pulled a few strings as macho journalists and ended up DJing when I'd never DJ'd before in my life in the main room, and were just subjected to people going, "Can you play some drum and bass?" And it's like, and then they told us off for effectively creating a mosh pit because we played a bit of Rage Against the Machine after something else quite furious.
I think we got banned for playing Rage Against the Machine, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I mean, they did tell us you need to play a nice song next. And then, the other people were like slightly threatening drunk people asking for drum and bass. So
Yeah.
it was an interesting evening.
I loved that. I will pick you up on one aspect
Ooh.
of your memory. It wasn't the first time because we did some DJing in the Sunflower Lounge before.
Indeed, you're right.
Yeah.
Of course, yes. No,
With
you're right.
that legend that is Paul Cook.
Indeed.
And do you remember when we DJ'd? When we first DJ'd at the Sunflower Lounge, Paul, who is a Birmingham music legend, showed us the ropes. He showed us how the CD machines work. This is back in the days of CDs. I remember carting a big box of CDs there into the Academy. And he told us about the bar. He said, "Do you want a drink or anything?" And then he reached behind. We'll walk over the road to the bar.
Away from the loud.
He reached. I don't even remember this. He went round the back of the bar and he reached under the bar and he pulled out a pool cue and he said, "Do you remember this?"
No.
He said to me, "If anything happens, this is here." And he brandished the pool cue.
That's amazing. I don't remember.
Do you not remember that?
No.
I will never forget that. Paul Cook waving the pool cue around. So I knew that if anything happened, if people got overexcited or
You could pull that bad boy out.
yeah, we could pull out a pool cue, exactly.
Deal the beating.
Yeah, but yeah, so we were talking about this like idea of connections and circularity. I feel like that is actually quite a big thing. You do have those connections, and
You do.
yeah, we're walking where we did that podcast where we were talking about Telly Savalas Looks at Birmingham, which is, as it would suggest, a film where Telly Savalas looks at Birmingham,
Despite never having visited it.
Yeah, well, and then the question in the podcast is, did he ever visit it?
And the answer is no.
So
there's not much of a podcast there.
David is convinced that he never did. I think if I talked to Richard Jeffson, I think he told me that he might have a photo. I think he had a photo of Telly Savalas in Birmingham. I think he'd done
a photoshopped image. Or green screen.
Yeah, green screen, exactly.
So, but circular. We've returned to Perry. You can see Perry over there.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Back in St Paul's Square.
Perhaps this is a nice place to finish this.
Let's finish off, exactly. If anyone's interested, David's one of David's jobs is programming films at the Mac, and you've got so many cool things coming up.
Yeah, some great
Tell
things.
people who you've got coming to the cinema in a couple of weeks.
Well, in about a month's time, we've got Pam Grier.
Pam Grier is going to be
The
coming
legend.
to Mac in
Pam Grier,
Birmingham.
which is
So
brilliant.
isn't that cool?
So we'll be screening Jackie Brown and also Coffee, one of the original blaxploitation classics that she was. What was it? I think the tagline is something like "A chick with drive who don't take no jive." I mean, and that. Obviously, saying it in my voice is awful, but
What voice was that?
it was just a middle class, awful voice. So it doesn't work as well. But that will be brilliant having it here. And then possibly we've got the Italian director Dario Argento will be coming. The director Peter Strickland, who, if you've ever watched Barbarian Sound Studio, or the Duke of Burgundy, he directed those, very cult director.
Barbarian Sound Studio is very good.
Yeah, and we've got the TV festival in November.
Square Eyes TV Festival.
Yep.
There are some really big names coming to that festival, isn't there?
Yeah,
really cool people.
And just to
very,
focus
very
on
exciting.
Midlands Productions. More Midlands TV production happening now, thanks to Mr. Stephen Knight and his TV studios.
Who did the opening ceremony last night.
All very circular.
Who are you most excited about who's appearing at Square Eyes, David? Who's the one person
you know what?
you're most excited about?
It might be Matthew Corbett.
Matthew Corbett?
Yeah.
From City?
City fame.
That's brilliant.
That is, because last year we had Zippy. So we had Ronnie Ledrew, who was the original Zippy, and so now I thought, well, how can we beat that? Let's have Matthew Corbett and the current owner of Sooty, Richard Cadell, are both coming to look at some old classic Sooties from like the 70s and 60s.
Yeah.
So that's quite exciting.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that I stay on.
Oh, and you might be doing. Oh, was that what you were hinting at, Chris? Chris might be doing something.
Might?
Well, I mean, you know.
I thought it was written in blood.
Well, Catherine O'Flynn hasn't replied yet.
I know.
And
Catherine.
she's the name.
Catherine's the name, exactly. Catherine, where are you?
So let's wait to hear from her.
It's going to be.
But you'll be delving into some old news footage.
Yeah, when I was writing my book, my novel set in Birmingham, I just watched all this. Anything that was set in Birmingham, and it was a lot of like really random local TV, lots of ATV and Gangsters, as we were talking about, which is an underrated classic. Before we go, David, talk about Gangsters and the
fantastic series.
Yeah,
I got the DVD somewhere, but I mean it was made in the 70s, wasn't it? It was actually filmed in Birmingham. And
BBC Pebble Mill.
Yeah, and it started out as a fairly gritty look at crime on the Birmingham streets. And as the series goes on, it becomes more and more bizarre and surreal.
The fourth wall is then broken.
So ahead of its time. That last few episodes.
Yeah.
The writer himself is Tony Martin, isn't it? Literally turns up playing W.C. Fields at one point.
W.C. Fields. The writer plays W.C. Fields, who he just barges his way into the show.
Yeah.
And then at the end,
the last scene of the series is Tony Martin writing the last scene.
He's writing the last scene in a hotel in India or something.
Yeah.
You see him writing.
And then it pulls back, and don't you see the crew? I think you see the crew.
You see the crew, and then you see they're in a TV studio making television. It's
so
unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Like they just got away with that at that time. Because this was 1970s when things like that on BBC.
This was on BBC One or something.
Yeah, it was so surreal, and so it's a really fascinating series. I'd love to do an event around that eventually. But yeah, I mean that's just an example of the history of. There is a history of Birmingham television that's probably not as celebrated as it should be.
Well, when we do our sitcom / film, should we set it here?
Well, you've been told quite unanimously that you should not set anything locally.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I have had that feedback.
So you've got to make it sort of generic, which is really disappointing actually, because I feel like that's not where things are going.
No, and I think, and I actually like things that are set in a place.
Exactly.
And I think it would be fun to do something.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I think now there's more happening in terms of production. I think there will be room for something like that. Just as long as it's not this awful, everyone's got
Zomboat.
Zomboat, which I was telling Chris about on ITV, which wasn't awful to be fair, but it was a bit misjudged. It's a canal boat going through Birmingham during the zombie apocalypse. It's high concept, low rewards. So
this podcast,
perhaps. But I think there is the potential to do something great. But again, it's just getting through the sort of bias against Birmingham, I think.
Yeah, I think we should just set it here. Maybe we could get some Birmingham production money or something. And
absolutely, yeah. You get on that. Sort that out.
Yeah. Okay. Deal. Right, David Baldwin. It's so funny saying your name. thank you for talking to me on the podcast.
Thank you, Christopher John Bean.
Have you got a middle name?
Paul.
Paul?
Paul, David Paul Baldwin.
Why do I never even know that?
Hard to say that, David.
David Paul Baldwin.
Yeah. Did you not know that?
I didn't even know your middle name.
No.
Your parents have made that quite hard to say as well.
It is weird, isn't it? I didn't realise that, David Paul Baldwin.
Have you enjoyed the podcast?
I have. I always enjoy talking to you, Chris.
That's very
I
sweet
always
of you to
enjoy
say.
when it ends. So I had to get it.
Okay, that's the end. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Park Date. There's lots more where that came from, and there'll be more in the future as well. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review, good or bad, make them funny. I'll be reading out the best ones, and there'll be a prize for the one that makes me laugh the most. Name check some trees in your reviews and leave them wherever you get your podcasts from. Check out our website, parkdate.co.uk, and if you see me walking around in the park, come and say hello. I think that was the sound of someone sneezing. Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And lastly, we'd like to thank Radisson Hotel Birmingham and Stay Cool Birmingham for their help making this episode.
So we talked a lot about TV and films, didn't we today, David?
We did.
Yeah.
And we did a little wandering around one fake park to another real park.
Yeah.
We were talking about the circularity of it all as well, because we have done a sort of circle as we walked around.
We have.
And life is circular in many ways, don't you think?
That's what I think, definitely. Well, we're here in a graveyard, aren't we? I can see this gravestone over here.
That's right. What does it say on that?
Hold on. It says, "Here lies David Baldwin, died 2021.
Well, that's my name.
What? David? 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 David!